My name is Sarah, and for as long as I can remember, the ocean has been the only place where I could truly hear my own thoughts. There is a specific kind of silence out there, miles from the shore, where the horizon meets the sky and the rhythm of the waves feels like the heartbeat of creation itself. My boyfriend Mark felt the same way. We weren't the type of couple who spent our weekends in crowded malls or noisy bars. We found our sanctuary on a small 20-foot fishing boat, drifting in the open water, far away from the cell towers and the constant buzzing of the world. I always believed I had a steady relationship with God. I prayed, I read my Bible, I tried to be a good person. But I didn't realize how much I relied on the calm to feel Him until the calm was violently taken away. I didn't realize how shallow my anchor really was until the storm hit. It was July 14th, 2025, just a few months ago. I remember the date clearly because the morning had been perfect. The sky was a brilliant, piercing blue, the kind that makes you feel like summer will last forever. We launched the boat early, laughing, drinking coffee from a thermos, talking about our future. We were about 10 or 12 miles out, the coastline just a thin, hazy strip behind us. The water was like glass, reflecting the sun in dazzling diamonds. We were happy. We were comfortable. We were completely unaware of how quickly everything was about to change. The weather report had promised clear skies, a 0% chance of rain. But out on the water, the weather has a mind of its own, and the ocean does not care about forecasts. The shift didn't happen gradually. It felt like the sky simply turned on us. One minute, the sun was warm on my shoulders. The next, the air temperature dropped 20 degrees in a heartbeat. A strange, copper taste filled my mouth, the taste of electricity. I looked at the horizon and saw it, a wall of black, purple, and green clouds racing toward us with a speed that didn't seem natural. The wind picked up instantly, not a breeze, but a howl, whipping the calm ocean into a frenzy of whitecaps and swelling peaks. Mark scrambled to the console, his face pale, his knuckles white as he gripped the wheel. He tried to start the engine to head back, to outrun the monster bearing down on us, but the engine sputtered and died. We were dead in the water. "Sarah, the life jackets!" Mark screamed, his voice barely audible over the roaring wind. I scrambled toward the storage bench, but the boat pitched violently to the side. The ocean wasn't just waves anymore. It was mountains of water, crashing and colliding. I saw a look of sheer terror in Mark's eyes, a look I had never seen before, a look that said he knew we weren't going to make it. He let go of the wheel and lunged for me, trying to shield me, trying to grab me. "Hold on," he shouted. Those were the last words I heard in the physical world. A rogue wave, massive and dark, heavy as concrete, crashed over the side of the boat. It didn't just hit us, it swallowed us. The boat flipped in an instant. I was thrown into the churning, freezing chaos. I didn't have time to take a breath. The water filled my nose and mouth, a salty, burning force that dragged me down. I tumbled into the darkness, spinning, not knowing which way was up or down. I felt Mark's hand brush against mine for a split second, a desperate, fleeting touch, and then he was gone, ripped away by the brutal current. I fought. I kicked and clawed at the water, panic exploding in my chest like a bomb. I needed air. I needed to find Mark, but the ocean was relentless. It pushed me down, holding me under with a weight that felt personal, angry. My lungs burned like fire, a searing pain that spread through my entire chest. My vision began to tunnel, black edges creeping in, and the cold seeped into my bones, paralyzing my limbs. I realized with a terrifying, absolute clarity that I was dying. There was no movie-style flashback of my life. There was only fear, then regret, and finally a desperate, silent prayer screamed from the depths of my soul. "Jesus, save him. Save me, please." Then the struggle stopped. The pain in my chest vanished. The cold was replaced by a strange, weightless sensation. I wasn't fighting the water anymore. I opened my eyes, or I thought I did, and realized I was no longer in the water. I was floating above it. The scene below me was chaotic and terrifying. I saw the turbulent, frothing ocean, the waves looking like jagged teeth. I saw the upturned hull of our boat bobbing like a broken toy in the violence. And I saw Mark. He had managed to surface. He was clinging to the side of the wreckage, coughing, wiping water from his eyes, screaming my name into the wind. "Sarah! Sarah!" His voice was filled with an agony that broke my heart. I wanted to call out to him, to reach down and touch his shoulder, to tell him I was okay, but I couldn't. I had no voice. I had no hands to reach with. And then I saw the reason why. A few yards away from the boat, drifting face down in the dark swells, was a body. It was wearing my clothes. It had my hair. It was me. I stared at my own lifeless form, tossed about by the storm, but I felt no fear. I felt a strange detachment, a quiet understanding that the vessel below was no longer necessary. I was dead. I knew it. The connection to the physical world had been severed. But before the grief of leaving Mark could truly set in, I felt a shift in the atmosphere. The storm below began to fade, the roar of the wind dialing down into a hum, and then silence. I turned away from the earth, drawn by a presence behind me. It wasn't a pull like gravity. It was an invitation, a magnetic attraction of pure love. I was standing in a place of absolute stillness. There was no ground beneath my feet, no sky above me, only a light that seemed to breathe. It was warm, golden, and living. It wasn't just light, it was substance. It wrapped around me like a blanket, washing away the terror of the drowning, the cold of the ocean, the panic of the accident. And standing in the center of that light was Jesus. He didn't look like the paintings I had seen in Sunday school. He wasn't a distant, fragile figure. He looked like power. He looked like ancient authority wrapped in unfathomable kindness. His robes were light itself, and his eyes held the universe. When he looked at me, I felt completely exposed. Every secret, every lie I had ever told, every moment of selfishness, every act of love, it was all laid bare. There was no hiding here, but in his gaze there was no condemnation. There was only a love so intense, so heavy that I fell to my knees. I couldn't stand in the presence of such holiness. "Sarah," he said. His voice sounded like the sound of rushing waters, deep and resonant, yet it was as intimate as a whisper in my ear. "You have come, but it is not your time. There is work to be done." I looked up at him, trembling. "Lord, Mark, is he?" "He is safe for now," Jesus said, though his gaze didn't waver from mine. His expression was serious, filled with a sorrow that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "But the world is not. Sarah, you have lived your life seeking peace in the quiet places, avoiding the noise. But the noise has grown into a fog, and it is blinding my children." He extended his hand, and the golden light around us parted like a curtain. Suddenly, we were no longer in that place of peace. We were suspended in the darkness of space, looking down at the earth. It spun slowly, a beautiful blue marble, but as I looked closer, I saw that something was wrong. It wasn't the vibrant planet I expected. It was covered in a thick, swirling gray fog. It wasn't atmospheric clouds. It was something unnatural, something heavy and suffocating. It swirled around the globe, choking the light, seeping into the valleys and the cities. "What is that?" I asked, my voice shaking. "It is the digital fog," Jesus replied, his voice stern. "It is the great numbing." The vision zoomed in, rushing toward the surface of the earth with dizzying speed. We hovered over a city. It could have been New York, or London, or Tokyo. It didn't matter. It was every city. I saw millions of people walking through the streets, but they weren't looking at the sky, or the trees, or each other. They were walking with their heads down, their necks bent, their eyes locked onto screens in their hands. I saw invisible, glowing cables running from their devices straight into their chests, penetrating their hearts and their minds. These cables were pulsing with a sickly green light, feeding them a constant stream of noise, distraction, anxiety, and lust. "They are building their own cages," Jesus said, sorrow thickening his voice. "They seek connection, but they are more alone than ever. They have traded my presence for pixels. They listen to influencers, but they cannot hear the Holy Spirit. Look closer, Sarah. Look at the homes." The scene shifted. I was looking through the walls of a house. It was dinner time. A family sat around a table, a father, a mother, 2 children. There was food on the table, but there was no conversation. The father was scrolling through news that made him angry, his face tight with stress. The mother was looking at pictures of other people's lives, feeling inadequate, feeling jealous. The children were immersed in games that taught them violence and vanity. The silence in the room was deafening, but the noise in their spirits was chaotic. "The enemy no longer needs to possess them with demons," Jesus said. "He only needs to distract them. If he can keep them busy, if he can keep them scrolling, he can keep them from me. They are asleep, Sarah. They are wide awake physically, but their spirits are in a coma. Then the vision shifted again. We were inside a church. It was a massive building, beautiful and modern. The stage was lit with professional lighting. The music was loud and perfectly performed. The pastor stood on stage, charismatic and eloquent. But as I looked at the congregation, I saw the fog here too. It was thicker. They come to be entertained, not to be broken, Jesus said. They want a savior who saves them from hell, but not a Lord who changes their lives. I watched as the pastor spoke. He held a Bible, but he barely opened it. He spoke about happiness, about success, about how to have a better life now. He told jokes, he made them feel good. But I saw the words coming out of his mouth, and they were like smoke. They had no substance. They dissolved before they reached the hearts of the people. And the people loved it. They nodded, they smiled, they checked their watches. They have exchanged the truth for a feeling, Jesus whispered. They fear the silence because in the silence they might hear the conviction of my spirit, so they fill the silence with noise, even in my house. Then the scene changed abruptly. I saw a school. Children were sitting at desks, but there were no books, only tablets. I saw the curriculum they were being taught. It wasn't just math or science. It was a rewriting of reality. I saw history being erased, names of God being scrubbed from the records. I saw children being taught that their feelings were the only truth that mattered. I saw confusion, deep, agonizing confusion, about who they were, about whether they were boys or girls, about whether they had a purpose. I saw a dark mist creeping along the floor of the classroom, wrapping around the ankles of the children. They are targeting the lambs, Jesus said. And for the first time, I saw anger in his eyes, a holy, terrifying anger. They are stealing the innocence of the next generation. They are confusing them before they even have a chance to know the truth. And the parents are too distracted by their own screens to notice the wolf at the door. He turned to me, and the scene shifted again. Now we were looking at a bank. People were standing in lines, looking terrified. I saw them looking at their phones, checking their accounts, but the numbers were fluctuating wildly. The systems of the world are fragile, Sarah, he said. Men build their security on sand. I saw a time coming, very soon, where the money that people trust in will become a weapon. I watched as physical cash disappeared. It was replaced by digital credits. But these credits weren't just money, they were permission. I saw a man trying to buy groceries, but his transaction was denied. Not because he didn't have the funds, but because of something he had said, something he had posted online, a belief he held. The system locked him out. They will trade their freedom for convenience, Jesus warned. They will accept the chains because the chains are digital and invisible. They will trust the system to provide for them, forgetting that I am the provider. When the system fails, and it will fail, they will have nowhere to turn because they have forgotten how to trust in faith. Then the vision expanded. The calendar page appeared in the sky again, just as it had before. The year 2025 flipped to 2026. As the number changed, the gray fog didn't just sit on the surface anymore. It began to seep into the skin of the people. It blurred their vision. It dulled their hearing. 2026, Jesus said, the word hanging in the air like a thunderclap. This will be the year of the blur. The blur, I asked. The line between what is real and what is fake will vanish, he explained. The enemy is preparing a deception that does not look like evil. It looks like convenience. It looks like intelligence. In the coming year, truth will be manufactured. I saw screens everywhere. I saw faces on the news anchors, politicians, even preachers. But as I looked closer with my spiritual eyes, I saw they weren't real. They were generated. They were artificial. But the people watching couldn't tell the difference. They believed the lies because the lies looked so perfect. Voices that sound like wisdom will rise, Jesus continued, but they will be artificial, devoid of my spirit. People will be told what to believe, what to fear, and who to hate, and they will accept it because they have forgotten how to discern. They have lost the ability to test the spirits. I saw a terrifying sight. I saw people using technology to speak to their dead loved ones. AI recreations of grandmothers, husbands, children who had passed away. The people were weeping, talking to these screens, finding comfort. But behind the screen, in the spiritual realm, I saw demonic spirits laughing, feeding off the grief, using the technology as a doorway. They will seek comfort in the dead because they do not know the Lord of the life, Jesus said. This is the abomination. They are inviting darkness into their homes, calling it technology. Then the vision shifted to the earth itself. I saw the ground shaking. I saw weather patterns that made no sense, snow in the desert, heat waves in the winter. Creation groans, Jesus said. The earth itself is reacting to the sin and the confusion of mankind. The storms will increase, the earth will tremble. These are not just accidents of nature, they are the birth pains. But even in this, men will not repent. They will blame the climate, they will blame politics, but they will not look at their own hearts. Then he showed me something that gave me hope. Amidst the gray fog, amidst the dark churches and the confused schools, I saw tiny pinpricks of light. They were scattered, small, and often hidden. I zoomed in on one of them. It was a basement. A group of 10 people were sitting in a circle. They didn't have a smoke machine. They didn't have a professional band. They had open Bibles and tears on their faces. They were praying, and their prayers were like pillars of fire shooting straight up through the fog, breaking it apart, reaching the throne of God. "This is my remnant," Jesus said, and his voice softened with deep affection. "They are the ones who have unplugged. They are the ones who value my presence more than the world's approval. They are small in number, but they are mighty in spirit. They are the ones who will stand when the structures fall." He showed me another light, a mother teaching her children the Bible at the kitchen table, pushing the tablets aside. He showed me a young man deleting his social media accounts because he knew it was poisoning his soul. He showed me a pastor repenting in his office, weeping, asking God to remove the show and bring back the spirit. "These are the ones I am calling," Jesus said. "And Sarah, you must call them too." He turned to me, and the visions faded. We were back in the golden light. The urgency in his eyes burned into my soul. "You must go back. You must warn them." I felt a surge of panic. Warn them of what? Everything. "It's too much, Lord. They won't listen. I'm just a girl who goes fishing. I'm nobody." "I do not choose the famous," he said firmly. "I choose the faithful. The world listens to the loud, but I speak through the humble. Go, Sarah. Tell them the storm is here and their anchors are not deep enough. Tell them," he continued, "that 2026 is the turning point. If they do not learn to discern now, they will be deceived. Tell them to disconnect to reconnect. Tell them to find the silence. If they cannot sit with me for 1 hour without a screen, they will not be able to stand with me when the darkness comes." "I don't want to go back," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "It's so cold there. It's so loud. Please let me stay." Jesus reached out and touched my forehead. His touch was like fire and water at the same time. "I will be with you. I am always with you. But you must go. Mark needs you. The remnant needs you." The moment his hand touched me, I felt a violent yank, like a hook catching a fish. The peace was ripped away. The golden light shattered into a million pieces. I was falling through the dark. I gasped, water erupting from my lungs. The pain was immediate and excruciating. I was coughing, retching, my chest burning as if it were on fire. The air felt harsh and abrasive against my raw throat. "She's breathing. She's back? Get the blankets." I blinked, the harsh gray light of the sky stinging my eyes. I was lying on the cold, hard deck of a Coast Guard boat. The smell of diesel fumes and salt water filled my nose. A medic was leaning over me, checking my vitals, and right beside him, shivering, pale, and looking like he had seen a ghost, was Mark. He grabbed my hand, his grip so tight it hurt. Tears were streaming down his face, mixing with the seawater. "Sarah? Oh God, Sarah, I thought I lost you. You were face down, you weren't moving, you were gone." "I was gone," I whispered, my voice barely a croak. "I was gone, Mark." The medics told me later that I had been clinically dead for several minutes. They said my heart had stopped. They said it was a miracle I had no brain damage from the lack of oxygen. They said I was lucky, but I knew luck had nothing to do with it. I lay there on the deck as the boat sped toward the shore, the vibration of the engine rattling my bones, and I closed my eyes. I could still see the fog. I could still see the lights of the remnant. I could still feel the touch of Jesus on my forehead. Recovery was brutal. I spent a week in the hospital, my lungs fighting off pneumonia, my body exhausted from the trauma. But my spirit was restless. It was on fire. I couldn't look at my phone the same way. When the nurse handed it to me, I felt a physical repulsion. I looked at the black screen and saw the cage. I saw the invisible cables. Every time I saw people in the hospital waiting room scrolling endlessly, their eyes glazed over. I saw the gray fog from my vision. I saw them being fed anxiety, fear, and lies. I wanted to scream at them to wake up, to put it down, to look up. I started telling people what I saw. Mark believed me instantly. He had seen me dead in the water. He had held my lifeless body. He knew that the woman who woke up on that boat was different from the one who went into the water. He saw the fire in my eyes, but others were skeptical. The doctors told me it was a hallucination, a firing of neurons in a dying brain, a coping mechanism for the trauma. Friends listened politely, but I could see the doubt in their eyes. They thought I was having a breakdown. They told me to rest, to stop thinking about it. But I cannot stop. I know what I saw. I know the feeling of Jesus' hand on my forehead, and I know the warning he gave me is real. I am sharing this now because we are running out of time. The calendar is turning. 2026 is rapidly approaching, and Jesus called it the year of the blur. He showed me that we are about to enter a time where technology and deception merge in a way we aren't ready for. We are walking into a trap, smiling as we go. We are inviting the enemy into our living rooms, into our marriages, into our children's minds, and we call it entertainment. We call it progress. If your faith is built on what you see online, on what is popular, on what feels comfortable, you will be swept away. If your relationship with God depends on a Sunday service with lights and smoke, you will not stand. You need to be the remnant. You need to disconnect to reconnect. You need to find the silence. You need to know Jesus for yourself, not through a podcast, not through an influencer, not through a screen. You need to open your Bible and let the paper pages speak to you. You need to pray until the fog breaks. The fog is rising, and it is going to get harder to see the truth. The economic shifts, the political confusion, the artificial voices, it is all designed to make you dizzy, to make you let go of the rock. Please, don't brush this off. Don't think this is just a story about a girl who almost drowned. The storm I faced on the ocean is nothing compared to the spiritual storm that is coming. The waves of deception are already crashing against your house. Are your windows open? Is your foundation cracked? Jesus is waiting for you. He is not angry, he is heartbroken. He wants you back. He wants you to look up from the glowing rectangle in your hand and look into his face. He wants to cut the cables that are draining your spirit. But you have to choose. 2026 is the year of decision. Will you choose the blur, or will you choose the truth? He showed me more specifics about how this artificial truth will enter our homes and affect our families in the coming months, and how the digital money will begin to be implemented in ways we don't expect. I will share the rest of the vision, including the specific warnings for parents and the youth, in my next video. Please like, share, and subscribe so this message can reach others before the fog sets in. We need to wake up. We need to be the light in the gray. Thank you for listening.